So I was wondering why I liked this microphone so much. It just kind of felt like home, like a warm, inviting sound cradling my voice like it has for years and years. But what's so familiar about this mic? What do I love about it? It's not the epic toiletries case it comes with every purchase, is it? No, it can't be. That's right, I remember now. This is the NT2000, the slightly older brother to this, the NT2A, which also has a pretty cool backstory. So let's do that. So this, the NT2A, was the replacement for the OG NT2, which was the expansion of the NT lineup after the NT1 took off back in the 90s. Now, the stories say that the NT2 caused some kerfuffles in the industry because of the mic basket, I don't know, looking kind of German in its style, and some specific German company decided to complain.
Your day of reckoning is coming, and I'll be there in all my glory!
Leading to the replacement, the NT2A. By the way, if anyone has an original NT2, let me know. I'm always in the market to try some older stuff. More fun facts as well. And I cannot fully confirm anything, so everything with a grain of salt unless Peter wants to jump into the comments and confirm or deny. But the NT2 was made by a company in China called 797 Audio. Well, most of it anyways. Rode would swap out the circuit with one of their own, and boom, you had the NT2. I should clarify, while it seems weird, back in the day, nobody was doing what Rode was doing. They were just getting the microphones from China and slapping their name on it, and there's your microphone. Rode was one of the first that actually started doing their own circuit boards for these microphones, which really set them apart and made the microphones Rode's instead of somebody else's. The capsule doesn't mean as much as you might think. And when Rode finally decided to bring all their manufacturing in-house, 797 still ran with their NT2S. Now, shortly after, they were approached by Behringer to use it for their B2 mic, but they kept the original circuit board. To this day, you can still buy the NT2S from 797 Audio if it's in stock. I checked out to them, it's not quite at the moment. Maybe a video idea? Anyways, after bringing it back in-house, Rode quickly refreshed their lineup, and while I can't pin any dates down exactly, the NT2000 and the NT2A were released close together in the early 2000s. The NT2A being the affordable option, and the NT2000 being the more professional version with more versatility. But at least according to former Rode CEO Mark Ludmer from NAMM 2006, they're basically the same mic, just with different controls.
It's exactly the same as the NT2A, except a little bigger and fully variable controls instead of three-way switches.
So then, before we put them head to head, let's take a look at those controls. Now, on the NT2A, you have a polar pattern selector, figure 8, omni, and cardioid. You have a high-pass filter at either 40 or 80, and a pad, either 5 or 10 dB. Very useful and quite versatile. On the other hand, the NT2000 has all three of those options almost exactly, but with a couple differences. First, the high-pass filter on this goes a tad higher to 150 Hz. And of course, the selectors are knobs that allow for variable control. What does that mean, you ask? Well, that means the selector works in all positions. So do you want a mostly cardioid polar pattern with a touch of omni mixed in for a different response and lower proximity? Well, you can have that. Do you need a pad of 7 dB specifically? Sure. How about a high-pass filter of 110 Hz? There you go. Okay, so let's take a look at the variable control. So I'm going to be moving. You'll hear clicks while I'm doing it. These switches were not meant to actually be used while you're using the microphone. So now I'm in full omni, and as I walk around the microphone, you can hear the full omni. But you're also going to notice a lack of all of that proximity effect. Now, as I turn it back, you're going to hear that proximity effect kind of swamp back in. As we move it back, there we go. And now you're going to hear that proximity effect while I'm up against the microphone. Now, let's just take about 15% off the cardioid. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, so now you have cardioid with just a little bit of Omni as you go around the microphone. You can hear it starting to kick in, but you can still hear it change as you go around. What that's doing is it's opening the capsule up a little bit. It doesn't have the dull thud of the impact to your voice with proximity. So a lot of people actually like to keep just a little bit of Omni on their microphone, especially when you're using a tube mic. So now we have it in figure 8, and I'm going to go around and you're going to hear a dead spot on the side of the mic. I'm still popping it. Woo! You're going to hear it come back as I get around to the rear of the mic. That figure 8 is also something you can play with to make it a little less. So now we're right in the middle of the figure 8, and when we go around, you're going to notice there's less at the back. So it's a little less sensitive on the rear of the microphone. So in layman's terms, it's just a microphone with more options within the options, making this mic a bit of a unicorn. You see, that variable polar pattern selection is generally only seen on tube mics with only a few exceptions, meaning this is a microphone that offers a ton of options for engineers to really dial in the sound they're looking for, or even the scenario they're looking for. So then with all that said, how does all this translate to how the two mics sound when they're up against each other? Okay, so let's go back and forth between father and son, or grandfather and son, or I don't know, brothers, siblings, whatever. Either way, let's see if the old CEO of Rode was right. Are these the same microphone? Now, I'm going to have to say, whenever you have variables in the circuit board, there's a good chance you're going to change the sound of the microphone. Now, there are variables here, but I have no idea what those changes might be, and I'm doing all of this before listening to the result on my computer. So then, do you hear any differences between these two microphones? I can say when Dylan and I tried this mic out at his place, before he got the job with the actual company that sent me this microphone, I should add, we were both rather impressed with the audio coming out of it. So then, let's listen to what that sounds like. I do have to point out though, this mic is going through a Neve in that footage, so you're probably going to be able to hear it. That's actually kind of nice, man. That's crispy.
It's a good sound. And how's the latency? A lot better.
Oh, yeah. The latency is so much better. But so there's nothing on this mic.
That's dry.
Holy shit.
No, it's dry through a $3,000 preamp, but it's still dry. And another $3,000.
This is why I no longer front a band.
Sounds good. Even at a distance, some people might be inclined to bring it closer, but I find it's got a more natural.
Well, that guitar also fills the room quite nicely.
Yeah, it fills up. You didn't play any bass notes. I made sure the whole thing was in E to theoretically.
Okay, so I just want to point this out. I am not a bass player. I'm also, if you were watching the last little sequence, not a percussionist. By no means am I a percussionist.
I could give you some drumsticks if that helps.
You got that on probably going to make it worse.
Oh, yeah, I am in the frame. Nice.
So then, do I like it? And with that metric, should you buy it? Well, it's not exactly camera ready, as its size doesn't exactly make it discreet, does it? But the one thing that makes this thing special is probably the thing you need to focus on if you're looking at buying it. Do you need or can you use the variable controls? Personally, I love the sound of my NT2A. There was a reason I bought it as my first voiceover mic way back in the day. It was a fantastic mic that paid itself off in a matter of a month while working with it, and to this day, I still find myself reaching for it for voice work, even with the plethora of options that I have. And this, the NT2000, just adds a little bit more to that for me. I can promise you this though, I will be featuring this in more content in the future. So let me know what you would like to see this thing do. But otherwise, what do you think? Does it sound the same as the NT2A? Hit me up down below. Cheers, guys, and thanks for watching.